Today, we dive into the conversation around self. Do you think we're trying to complicate becoming our authentic selves?
There is no self. The self as we know it is not a fixed, this is me. When you understand that, you let go this idea of low self-worth because there is no self.
How can we be more conscious, authentic human beings?
The path of consciousness is about uncovering the layers of falsity that were put on us to survive in a very unnatural world.
Dr. Shefali is a 3-time New York Times bestseller and author of 7 books, and Oprah calls her revolutionary.
When life throws something at you, which it does 5 times or more a day, you get an opportunity to see how whole you are.
We dive into how we can look more at our personal self-growth, be more authentic within ourselves, and have better and more authentic romantic relationships.
Whenever we come with this neediness to get love, but we disguise it as giving love, it is going to hit us hard.
I'm your host, Sarah Ann Macklin, and I'm on a mission to uncover the maze of health myths around nutrition and well-being and guide you through my 7 pillars of health. Join me on a journey of discovery and connection and pull up a pew for a front row seat to the most exclusive health conversations of our time. Welcome to Live Well, Be Well. I've loved watching this community grow and especially starting to meet you all in the comments section. But one thing, although our views are going up, our subscribers aren't. So I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button as a thank you if you've enjoyed any of our episodes. It allows us to bring bigger, more exciting guests and more continuous content. So if you've enjoyed it, just like a gentleman's handshake, please do subscribe. Dr. Shefali, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
To Live Well, Be Well.
Yeah.
I am so happy to have you here. And I feel like we're going to cover a lot today. I'm hoping this is going to be something different to maybe what you're usually talking about. And I want to start with a topic that is, it can feel very overwhelming, just the word, but let's just start there.
Okay.
You talk a lot about consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I want to understand more about consciousness. So how can people become more conscious and more authentic towards themselves?
That's a great question. So it is a big word and it's often misunderstood as something so esoteric or something that only monks in the Himalayas can access. So what I teach is consciousness in a very accessible way. So in a nutshell, it's about understanding that most of us were raised to divorce our authentic self. So we were raised to actually become more and more unconscious, to fit into the matrix. And consciousness then, the path of consciousness, and it is a path, it's not a destination, is about uncovering the layers of falsity that were put on us to survive in a very unnatural world. So this world we live in is so divorced from who we were authentically, to be hunter-gatherers, to live in a tribe, to be in oneness and interdependence. And we've moved so far out to be conditioned to live in the autonomous, separated space of individuality that we've lost our connection with ourselves and each other. So consciousness is the path to recover that, to reclaim that, which involves stripping away the masks of inauthenticity and falsity. But that takes tremendous courage. It takes tremendous brutality with oneself to be so honest and to really brutally scrutinize and deconstruct the cultural conditionings, which people are very afraid to do because they've been raised to be indoctrinated. So the fish is in the ocean and doesn't know what wet means because that's all it's known. We are like that fish, not understanding we are in an ocean mired in so much heavy conditioning that keeps us away from our own inner governance and power.
Mm-hmm. I think it's such an interesting concept because a lot of people listening to this might go, well, how do I know if I'm being my true authentic self? Or how do I know how conscious I really am? Because it's a question that I think so many of us may think we're being conscious,
Yes.
may think we're being self-aware. And I was trying to do a bit of research before this podcast, and I saw a meta-analysis that looked at 800 existing scientific studies to understand how previous researchers defined self-awareness, right? So I guess being self-aware allows you to become more conscious in my own kind of thought process. And they unearthed themes and trends and identified the limitations of these investigations. And what they found is that from all of these studies, only 10 to 15% of the people studied actually fitted the criteria of being self-aware. So we have this conversation now, I think, a lot about self-awareness and consciousness, but how can we really know if we are being conscious? I guess that's what I want to understand. How can we start to feel that we are being authentic rather than believing from this culturally ingrained path that we've been on?
Right. Well, two things to answer you. You hit the nail on its head. People think they are self-aware. So self-awareness is not cerebral or conceptual. It's a lived experience of presence, stillness, non-reactivity, deep compassion, and a very acute wisdom. So it's a felt experience. So now your next question can be, well, how do you know you are that? You're feeling that.
Yeah.
How do you know you're feeling that?
Yeah.
You know it through your living experimentation with life. So when life throws something at you, which it does 5 times or more a day, through our intimate relationships, especially with our children and our lovers, our partners, you get an opportunity to see how whole you are, how broken you are, how damaged you are through your reactivity, through your fragility, through your abundance or scarcity, through your ability to be here now. You can see it. You can just look at your last breakup or your last mishap with your children to know how conscious you truly are. But again, it requires you to look in the mirror and go, wow, that was really effed up. I fell apart because this person did this to me, or I fell apart because my child dropped the milk and I told her not to touch it. That will show you your lived experience of consciousness and self-awareness. And you get to see it if you're honest with yourself. And you get to really examine how broken you really are in that moment. And that's your invitation then to adult up and to become whole.
I think it's a lot about mindfulness that rings to that, right? Like how we're reacting to the stimuli that's happening.
Yes.
Something that was really interesting when I was reading this meta-analysis was that basically the most surprising findings, and I'd love to have you, my next question is what questions can people ask? Because what I found really interesting about this was that people who were introspective are less self-aware and report worse job satisfaction and well-being. That really surprised me when I read that. And they said the problem wasn't introspection. That wasn't the problem. It's because they were doing it incorrectly. They were actually asking the question, why? And that meant that they were then creating their own narrative.
Exactly.
Which actually meant that they were becoming less self-aware. And what they said is that we should be asking the questions as what instead of why. So what did I react to? What happened in that moment? And it allows you to become better of that introspective narrative. Have you got any kind of good tools or tips on how people can approach their self-awareness with questions or tools or strategies of going through their kind of journey that they're on to becoming more self-aware?
Right. So when we ask the question why, most of us are not asking it out of a genuine, deep curiosity. We're really saying, why the F did this happen to me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what that means is we're saying why, as in, why God did you do this to me? Why universe did you send me this crappy person? Why the F are you doing this to me? So that's not investigative. That's not curious. That's not open to a true analysis. It's deeply resistant. I always tell people, stop asking why, because you appear like you want to know the answer, but you actually are just clearly saying that you're resistant. So to shift is both energetic and in the formulation of the question, right? It's not just the right words. You have to really shift into a being of a seeker and to be really curious, to examine, how did I react in this moment? Because I want to grow. Therefore, I need to divest from blaming the other or asking, why is this happening to me, in the voice of a victim, and truly ask, how am I being a co-creator in this moment? So that's the question I typically ask. Okay, she's an asshole, he's an asshole, I can blame the whole world. But how did I co-create my reality? And a true investigation out of self-compassion, not out of blame and victimization, will allow me to grow. And then I actually can thank that person much later in life for pushing me to the end of my sanity to allow me to then awaken, right? We need intimate relationships to awaken. And I mean, I wish we could do it without pain, but I always speak, and I wrote this book called A Radical Awakening, where I speak about pain being the portal to our greatest awakening. And why is pain the portal and not our voluntary initiation? Is because pain, at some point after you've done blaming yourself or victimizing yourself or blaming the other, at some point, if you have enough pain in your life, you will fall on your knees and say, okay, the way I've been doing it is not working. And I need to shift into a deeper self-connection, because the reason we fall apart is not because of the trigger on the outside. The reason we fall apart is because our deepest connection within has been severed. And we are living in a fantasy land, or we're living as princesses, or especially women, or we're waiting for daddy to come to rescue us in the form of a partner. And we haven't awakened to our own inner governance, which is in plentiful, but we've just lost our authority over our own inner authority and power. We've lost it. And then the outside person, the trigger on the outside, is a reflection of that deep inner disconnection. Now, we don't like to own that it's us who've contributed. We've at least at some level co-created. We need to take ownership of that co-creation. So the question I ask is, how am I co-creating this reality? Number one. And then deeper questions are, am I truly connected to my inner authority in this moment? What does my inner being need from me right now? So really being connected to my inner child, right? My inner need, and trying to answer that inner need within myself rather than looking outside. Other questions I ask myself are, and this one I ask every few hours, am I right now coming from lack and scarcity? Or am I coming from my deepest wholeness and power? And if I can recognize that, oh my goodness, I'm coming from lack and scarcity, then I need to do the work in that moment to align with power and wholeness. But what we do, because we're not conscious of that lack and scarcity, is we cling on to the food, or cling on to the booze, or cling on to the lover, or cling on to the child, because we're not aware, right? So meditation, present moment awareness, deep inner reflection, true brutal honesty will allow us to actually capitalize on our power. But it does take saying, you know what? I'm needy right now. I'm not answering my own inner call. I'm not listening to myself. And then I'm yelling at other people for not listening to me. I can't blame them. And the greatest one that we women do is we betray ourselves constantly. We women, more than I would say the male, we females, have been indoctrinated to give up ourselves for the others at the table. We come last to the table. We've been trained that that's what it means to be a lovely person. Self-divorce is what we've been trained to do from an early age. So we divorce ourselves constantly. We betray our own inner knowing. Our inner knowing is talking to us, but we keep ignoring it. And outside relationships are here to wake us up to that divorce. We hate that lesson because it's painful. But the divorce is not on the outside. It's the inner abandonment, the inner betrayal that is coming to light, right? And other people are waking us up to how disconnected we've been. Now, this is not to say that they're not real assholes out there, okay? They're real scumbags out there. However, if we stay beyond an hour with them, then we need to look at that, right? I would say, okay, even 10 days. We can say 10 days, they beguiled us. A year even, they beguiled us. But many of us have stayed in relationships. I've stayed in relationships for more than a few years, knowing that something was off, but not trusting myself, denying my reality. I did that to myself. And I had to own that in my own life so many times. And it's still an awakening. And it's fascinating to me how many of us have been indoctrinated to just give up ourselves for others. And others sense that, you see. So they sense that we're deeply disconnected. So they're like, okay, I'm a kid in a candy shop. She's giving up all her candy. It's for free. There's no lock on the door. There's no price to any item. Everything is for free. She's willing to give anything away for crumbs. Hell, I'm going to go in there and just take. So our giving, although we seem nice and kind, is actually a deep cruelty to ourselves. We're not cruel to others, the typical giving female, but we're very cruel to ourselves. And recognizing my own cruelty to myself was a big wake-up call to me. I mean, I'm still doing it. I did it yesterday. I gave something away for free, which was dear to me. And I was like, wow, you're still giving it away. And it doesn't mean that I have to now become corrupt or selfish or greedy, but I have to love myself enough to hold on to things that matter to me. And so that's been my process of self-reclamation. But I think all of us go through that.
I'm so pleased to partner with Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to help entrepreneurs stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage your audience, and sell anything from products to content all in one place. I've been using Squarespace since day one because it's accessible and it looks professional, even for a tech phobe like me. Squarespace gives you all the tools to create and sell your own online courses. I launched my own Inner Circle membership last year using their platform. You can upload videos, customize your layouts, and add a paywall to monetize your content. Now, if you're looking to grow your business, the email campaigns feature is a game changer. It allows you to create targeted email campaigns, engage your community, drive sales, and track success with built-in analytics. Head to squarespace.com/livewell for your free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code LIVEWELL for 10% off a website or domain. Oh my gosh, we do. Honestly, I'm sat here nodding my head on everything that you're saying. And you've also spoken about one of my words that I bring up continuously throughout the show, and something that I am rooting a lot more of my own research in, which is self-compassion.
Yes.
Ironically, it's, I'm speaking about it more as I'm going through the need to be more self-compassionate with myself. But I do think that we all struggle to become self-compassionate with ourselves, but we find it much easier to become compassionate with others. Mm-hmm. So that kind of relationship dynamic that you spoke about, when we're maybe we don't realize we're in the eye of the storm. I'm sure you didn't for many years realize that you were betraying yourself. What can people do to check in, whether they're in that relationship or post that relationship or even going into a new relationship?
Yep.
What can people do to try and hold their power a bit more? Because I think I think about this as this is such a scientist thing to say, but looking at the parameters of health. We go to the doctor when we're sick. We go to a therapist when we're suffering with our mental health, but we never look at the preventative steps. And I'm really interested now to look at what's the preventative steps, whether you're going into a relationship, in a relationship where you're not sure if this is happening, or post maybe a toxic that is thrown around quite a lot, but maybe, not the most happiest relationship. What can we be doing to actually be connecting more to our power in these moments?
So I do think that we actually get plenty of signs and signals. Our body does talk to us. Our feelings talk to us. Our, whatever you want to call it, intuition, our deepest knowing, that inner sense of alarm does go off. However, through years of bearing that sound, we have muted it. So part of awakening is to truly, truly begin to check in and kind of reawaken that deep wisdom. We have it. We've lost touch with it. So it's not about going to look for more, go to a summit or go to a conference. Those things can help. But ultimately, we have to really reestablish that inner connection and that inner trust. Our deepest knowing doesn't trust us, and we don't trust it. It's a truly dysfunctional relationship that we have with ourself. Why do we have this dysfunctional relationship? Because early on we received the messages that to be deemed lovable, we had to serve others. So we thought, oh, our way to be self-compassionate is to get love from others, which means to abandon the self. We, as we awaken, can realize that we will never be compassionate to others if we are disconnected to the self. That is a fake compassion. This was a big lesson for me and for many giving, quote unquote, giving, empathic, pleasing women, all of us typically can fall into that category, is that no, you're not really being loving to others. You're not really being kind to others. You're just buying affection and love. Because if it comes at the price of your own self-love, your own self-worth, it's fake love to others. It's actually, in a perverted way, quite self-absorbed, because you're buying love, you see? You're just appearing to give love, but it's actually to get love. And whenever we come with this neediness to get love, but we disguise it as giving love, it is going to hit us hard and bring us to our knees. It will not be sustainable. We will either have a disease, we'll fall apart, we'll be exhausted, we'll burn out, or we'll just miss all the red flags in the relationship. So trusting ourselves, reestablishing that deep inner connection. What am I feeling now? Tuning in, attuning to ourselves 20 times a day. It's to you asked me today, do I want a coffee? Even to that answer, I had to tune in. What kind of coffee? Do I want a tea? Now, it sounds so banal to do it even with food choices, but it starts in the micro. Trusting yourself like you would your own child. Like your child needs, and that's a whole other thing. We don't even trust our children because we were never trusted, you see? So our parents dictated to us, they controlled us, they micromanaged us, they puppeteered us. That's why we don't trust ourselves. So now reestablishing that trust as if you are your own little child and reparenting yourself from the start, moment by moment. Do I want a carrot? Do I want a boiled egg? Do I want to go left? Do I want to go right? Now, when you begin to ask and then begin to align your life to the answers that show up, your self-trust exponentially just blossoms. Then it will be really hard to betray yourself. You just won't be able to. You'll feel it so loud, as if your greatest wisdom teacher was like beckoning you in your ear. You'll become your greatest guru, your greatest wisdom teacher. The sad thing is most of us don't believe we have that power because it was robbed from us in childhood.
I think it's so fascinating. I know I really want to go into the inner child work quite a bit, actually. I think a lot of people are going to be quite fascinated by this. But something I found quite interesting, I was sat on a panel last week talking about self, and somebody asked me the question, which was, do you think we're trying to complicate becoming our authentic selves? Mm-hmm. And it made me think, actually, a lot of us are on this journey to personal growth mm-hmm. and self-discovery. Mm-hmm. And some people can take it to an extreme. Mm-hmm. And I talk about it from, people can go off and do copious rounds of ayahuasca mm-hmm. to try and find an answer. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge believer in therapy, but, going over therapy, the same thing for 10 years, can we get to a point where we're overthinking about becoming our authentic self? Because what I'm hearing from you is, which I really resonate with, it's a lot about feeling. Mm-hmm. And are we getting too much in our minds to get to that authentic self?
Yeah, actually, I'll clarify. It's not even about feeling or thinking. And you're right. We've overcomplicated it. We've just become self-absorbed. And many times we just spiral in our own victimization, and we actually separate from our truth even more. We go questing on the outside for the next best, therapy drug or therapy itself. And I'm a clinical psychologist, and I will fire my clients if they become too dependent on me, because the whole point is to stop going for therapy, right? Is to understand that you are your own therapist. So it's not even feeling, though, because you can get lost in feeling too. It's about wisdom, and wisdom means attunement to the truth of who it is we are. And in order to do that kind of attunement I'm talking about, it means to take off all your contaminated lenses in terms of how you view yourself and the world. The lenses we wear are lies. They're delusions. They're false. So even this idea that I need to look for self-worth is a lie. and this is deep Eastern spirituality that I'm going to just dabble in for a second. In truth, there is no self, because the self as we know it is not a fixed, this is me identity. The self is constantly in cause and effect flux. You and I just created a new self together. It's interdependent. When you understand that at a deeply spiritual level, you let go this idea of low self-worth because there's no self. Now, it sounds contraindicative that, oh, if I let go of myself, then I'm going to be lost. No, actually, you sink and surrender into this cosmic oneness, and you let go this need to define yourself as this is me. Now, when you let go of your need to define yourself as I am a podcaster, I am famous, I am a doctor, I'm an author, now you're liberated from the tentacles of approval from the external world. So all of this actually is an illusion. When you understand that deeply through meditation and deep reflection and wisdom into the authentic nature of who we are, we stop clinging to fame. We stop craving for validity. We stop asking for approval. Because we're like, who are you to give me approval? I mean, no offense, because I look at you, yes, in the form, you are a person. But when I understand the deeper meaning of who you are, which is you are just essence, just like I am, and essence has no judgment, then you really can't judge me. So I absolve you of the power of judging me. I can treat you with respect, but I don't give you more than that, right? I don't give you the power to define me because you're just essence. You are not who you think you are. You're not famous. You're nothing. I am nothing. And then I also give myself the release of judging others because I'm full of nothingness. You see, it's wisdom at a very deep level. And when you touch that, you live in a boundless, limitless expansion because you're not bound by the self. So you're not looking for self-worth. Now, that's very deep for people to access, but that's the depth that I try to teach subtly in my work. You know, release your ideas of who you are. It's all fake. It's all an illusion. You're never who you think you are because not only do we not know ourselves deeply, no one can know us. So if today you tell me, you know what, Shefali, I actually can't stand your guts and you're actually a bullshitter and actually you're an idiot and actually you're stupid. Okay, say you were to say that. And
God,
I
I'd
would
be rude.
No, I know. But you actually would just be ignorant because you don't know me. And I would be ignorant if I believed you because you don't know me. And nobody knows anybody, least of all ourselves. We don't know ourselves. In truth, we're just these energetic beings in this form, and that's it. And if we can agree that that's all we are, we'll actually live so beautifully together. It's our ideas that we are an author or a doctor or married or a parent that creates this ownership and this identification that is false. It's false. And if we understand this deep wisdom, we actually live, we look at everything through the eyes of play and laughter and humor. And that's why they typically show monks laughing, or, in Buddhism, you'll see a lot of laughing monks, or there's this image of a monk gleefully jumping in the air and somebody asking him, what are you so happy about? And he says, oh, I just realized that happiness is an illusion. But that's what made him so ecstatic. You understand? We're chasing
it makes you
something.
feel free.
Because you're not chasing anything anymore. You're not chasing an identity because the identity is temporal. It's impermanent. It's an illusion and it's a projection, right? You've decided being a podcaster is amazing, and I've decided it too. I started my own podcast. But it's what we've decided. So it's just a currency in the present moment. 200,000 years ago, when our ancestors lived in the jungle, that was nothing to them. So we've given this weight now. So as long as we can play with it, like we can have fun with it. We're having fun right now. But let's not make it our identity. It's a false relevance that we give it. So as long as we can play the game of form, understanding that who we are in our essence is formless, now you can dabble into the world of form, but leave it and just shred it from your existence the minute you go home, so to speak, right? When you go home to yourself, you shred the layers of form and you come back home to who you truly are, which is formless essence. And don't be defined by the image of who you are. It's an image, it's not true.
My number one rule is that health should be personalised and tailored to the individual. But it can be hard to do if we don't know where our current health status is. Are you someone who's been trying countless supplements and health trends but end up feeling no different? Before you even start thinking about these things, it's crucial to assess where your health status currently is. That's where OptimallyMe can make a world of difference. OptimallyMe is a health optimization platform that provides personalized health recommendations based on your unique biology and goals. It offers access to a variety of diagnostic blood tests, digital tools, and devices, helping you see the bigger picture of your health, whether it's metabolic, gut, hormone, mental, skin, or cardiovascular health. This is where your foundation of health should start, with the understanding of where it currently stands. What I love about OptimallyMe is it allows you to analyze your health biomarkers and personalize your health journey. You can start your personalized journey with the full body MOT and DNA epigenetics blood tests. These tests assess multiple areas of your health and determine how lifestyle and environment are aging your body. Once you have your comprehensive health overview, you can start to connect your wearable devices and work with expert health coaches using the OptimallyMe dashboard to support your health. And here is a little something for you. Use the code LWBW20 to get 20% off your order, because your health is personal and so should your health plan.
Can you relate this though into how people then think about purpose if they're formless?
Yeah.
Like if we are literally just an essence and nothing, this word that's been thrown around a lot. And I also want to kind of approach this question too, with also feeling there's a massive pressure to find your purpose.
Exactly.
And I'm like, it's not this job where you have to now go and figure out what your purpose in life is. I feel very lucky to feel like I've connected with something that I deeply believe in, that I live and breathe in day out, which is mental health, physical health, emotional health, self-discovery, hence why this podcast is there. But it came from deep pain. I mean, it came from years of pain and a body shut down. And, you know, definitely I had no idea that I was finding my purpose through this. I just thought I was constantly up against judgment and conflict within myself. But that led me to now going, oh, wait, this is probably what I was here for. But I do find that word thrown around a lot. And I think I could say I'm doing my purpose. Do I truly know that? I'm not quite sure. But it's a very heavy word that I think now everyone was on this discovery for this exact reason. But then when I'm listening to you, I'm going, well, then does purpose exist?
Yeah, I love that question. So deep. So for listeners, they need to really listen in. Not that what I'm saying is the absolute sanctimonious truth, but it's a deep concept. Yeah, so that's why. So finding purpose is a load of bullshit. Okay, it's become a capitalist industrial commodification. Let's find your purpose, right? Let's find happiness. It's the same bullshit. It's just become an industry, and people prey on others to help them find purpose. You can find momentary activation of interest or, hobbies, or sure. But finding purpose in the deep meaning of the word purpose is something so eloquently simple. There would be no money made off it, right? That's why people don't do it. They make it like it's a big deal.
Oh yeah, trust me, I didn't make money for a very long time.
Yeah. Purpose in a nutshell to me is being here right now. Your purpose right now is to be here right now. Do you know how hard it is to be here right now?
Being present, I think, is the hardest thing.
And that is our purpose. Now go do that. When you do that, if you do that, you can only walk that path when you are deeply connected here and now to this moment, without a mask, without an ego, without the image of who you need to be. When you get to that place of presence, now you are in flow with life, and that is purpose. So tomorrow, if we're terminally ill, we're now in that purpose. Now I'm here with you in this purpose. There's no one freaking purpose. Your purpose is going to change at any given moment, as it should. If we're in an accident and my driver is injured, that is my purpose. Now we can have interests, but don't cling to it as your eternal purpose, because life is impermanent and it will be taken from you if you cling to it too hard, right? You have to allow yourself to flow. So I prefer to say that my purpose in life is to be as present as I can to the experience in the here and now. My purpose is to flow with what shows up as bountiful and abundant and joyful for me. My purpose is to move towards compassion and wisdom. My purpose is to more and more speak my truth. Now that is purpose. But purpose is not being a podcaster or being an author or being a doctor. That's just what we do. Purpose is who you are in the present moment. So that takes self-discovery, self-excavation, and deep inner quietude, and a stripping away of all the noise and all the ideas and all this sensationalism we've created out of the health industry and the mental health well-being industry, which I'm part of.
Well, trust me, when I started this, I remember when I started studying, it's very different in America, because I remember living there and everyone had a therapist, and I was like mortified that people were talking about this around the dinner table. But when I started in this sector, no one in the UK spoke about it because it was such a shameful topic.
Right.
There is that marketable angle to everything that we do that we can become unaware of, that we fall into it. I really agree with so much of what you're saying. My only problem is that we are now going into an era that is more transactional than ever before. So we're now going into an era where AI is going to become more powerful. Does that mean that we actually lean more into our purpose and let the computers do the work? I mean, it's a bigger topic, right? A lot of people are saying maybe the AI is going to start running the show, that we can become more present, that we haven't got to worry about running our day-to-day jobs. But I think, like, as our world is ever developing, how can we become more present? Because I think that's going to be a harder task for us to do.
Yeah, our world, I don't believe, is becoming more developed. It's just becoming more technologically advanced, to the detriment and devastation and annihilation of our soul.
God, that's deep. How do we end that on a positive?
I'm sorry, some things don't end on a positive, and we just have to accept the brutal reality of our fucked up nature. And humans, just avarice and rapacious greed and hunger for capitalism and power and separation and domination. And we are devolving, and we are at the other end of the hill of progress. Like, we're not even walking down. We've hurtled. We're in the gutter on the other side of progress. And I know I'm unpopular and I don't care. I see nothing good about it. Now, people will say, oh, but we will live longer and we'll be healthier. Yeah, but at what cost? Yeah, we will be all in our bubbles, isolated from what makes us alive. What makes us alive is that we will decay and die. And we are in resistance to that truth. You see, we're all trying to not decay and die. And that's our problem. No, part of being human is to live with our fragility. That's the exquisite beauty of knowing that this moment too will end. But we are trying to blunt ourselves from the pain that you and I right now will never perhaps see each other again. But that taking away that possibility of awareness that you and I will never see each other again actually takes us away from the present. Because when I'm aware that I may never see you again, I'm going to take you in so deeply into my heart, and I'm going to be so present because I may never see you again. But we're taking away that and giving us this false omnipotence of eternal impermanence, internal permanence, because we are terrified of the fragility of impermanence. People are trying to biohack their way to live longer. Why? We are taking away what makes us human, which is to die. And because we are trying to remove ourselves from death in the micro and the macro, we actually take ourselves away from the intimacy of human present moment connections. Soon our children will be raised by humanoid-like robots. That is the most terrifying thing in the world. Our partners and us will prefer to have sex in virtual reality than in present moment reality. And so we live longer, but completely soulless and disconnected. No, I would rather die young, but full of soul and alive connections. I don't need to defy my humanness. I don't need to be a superior animal more than other animals. I don't need to be so in need to permanently mark my territory, which is what we're all trying to do. Mark it on Mars, mark it on Everest, mark it on Kilimanjaro, mark like a dog peeing at every damn tree. We humans are no different. We want to pee everywhere, but we're pissing on the earth. I mean, I'm so sorry I'm devolving this conversation, but I'm just making it very clear that we are absolutely, disgustingly full of ego and self-absorption, and we need to get over ourselves and just stop. We don't have a stop button. Where's the stop button? 10 years ago, when I was a parent, I'm still a parent, but when I was a real parent in the throes of it, I thought social media was benign. 10 years later, we come to discover how toxic it is. We're walking into AI in the same way, and I know there are many people who speak against it, but not loudly enough. Isn't the data clear enough already, just through social media usage, that our children are dying inside? More children than ever are self-harming, suicidal, depressed, and anxious. And now we're going into the next iteration of social media. The TV used to be bad enough. Then it became, our little devices that were huge that we had to carry around. Now it's becoming pocket-sized in the child's back pocket. Now it's going to be disconnected from reality itself. What are we doing? And why aren't we more alarmed? I have absolute panic inside me when even the word AI is even spoken. Because the unintended...
I know, but we have to recognize it because it's coming at full force.
It's already here.
Yeah.
It's already here. And the unintended consequences are going to be devastating because we humans are not wired to live wired. We're wired to live in deep, intimate connection with nature and life. And we're divesting ourselves. So talk about disconnection at the highest level. It's just so alarming to me. And, I have nothing good to say about it.
I want to share something that's helped my skincare routine, the Bon Charge Red Light Face Mask. Red light therapy is fantastic for your skin because it helps reduce inflammation and increases collagen production, making your skin look healthier and more youthful. The Bon Charge Red Light Face Mask uses the optimal wavelengths of red 630 nanometers and infrared 850 nanometers light to deliver these benefits. Now, someone in my early 30s, wrinkles aren't a huge issue yet, but the minor lines I did have are already smoothed out. And what really surprised me was how well this mask works for acne. It helps settle the acne quicker and reduces any dark spots afterwards. It's been a real game changer for those unexpected breakouts. Now, prevention is key for me, and using this mask is a great step to help reduce the signs of aging. It's also become vital in my self-care routine. And during this time, I incorporate the meditation practice, making it one of my favorite times of the day. So if you're curious about how red light therapy can help your skin, I highly recommend giving it a try. Go to boncharge.com/livewell and use the code LIVEWELL for 15% off your order.
Well, I think we're more disconnected than ever before. And I think what I really wanted to make sure we touched upon, which I think will lean into this conversation, is our shadow, confronting our shadow. So many of us might have heard about shadow work. Mm-hmm. Some might not. Some might be really intrigued to know what that is. But I want to connect to the shadow.
Sure.
So can you first of all explain what our shadow side is for people that don't know, and how can we become friends with it?
Sure. To make it very simple, it shows up as a need of control, and it comes from fear. So anytime you're trying to control your life to the point that you're losing your inner alignment, which is every 10 minutes, right? A traffic jam, a red light, someone's late, something spills on you, and you're trying to control that, you enter resistance because you're not in alignment with the fact that we're in traffic or something bad, quote unquote, happened. That's life. We're operating out of fear of life's unpredictability. So when you get in touch with that, you realize, oh, that is quote unquote your shadow. Your shadow comes from deep panic and fear and anxiety. It shows up as image, achievement, perfection, some sort of control. Now, you may control it through humor. I may control it through exercising a lot. Somebody else can control it through pleasing and, being a giver and a somebody who acquiesces to other people. It can show up in different sneaky ways. But if you're honest, you're like, oh, I'm trying to control my body right now. I'm trying to control my image right now. I'm trying to control this relationship right now. I'm trying to control how people view me right now. And then you go deeper and realize, oh man, I'm just a basket of nerves and anxiety. That's your shadow. It shows up in all sorts of sneaky ways. It's not always evil. Now, the evil shadow is easy to see. It's the non-evil shadow that is the sneaky one, the snake. And most of us who are not evil, pure evil, think we're amazing. We don't have a shadow because we're not psychopathic murderers. No, we also have a shadow. It's just way sneakier. It's just disguised as competence or achievement, or, I'm going to, create this company that saves the planet, or I'm going to, I've created a new product, or I'm starting a new thing, or I've written a new book. If you deep down dig into that, quite likely it's because you're motivated by a need for approval, a need for omnipotence, a need to be better than others. And if you're not honest with your sneaky motivation, you're going to act it out and live in falsity. So every time I write a book, for example, I don't lie to myself that part of my writing the book is to show people how smart I am. Now that sounds like a really conceited thing to say. No, we are all trying to show how smart we are. I'm just owning it. You understand?
Yeah.
I'm not
and you're
pretending.
saying that's not a bad thing.
No, it's a bad thing when you don't own it and
Right.
pretend you're writing books just to help humanity. And there's no self-interest. That's a lie, right? Or I'll give you a really simple, basic example. When we women wear obnoxiously high heels and we act like we're doing it because we love ourselves. No, we're uncomfortable. We're insecure. Every time I wear high heels and I'm dreading the evening ahead of me, I say to myself, well, this is the price you pay because you were insecure. And so I call it insecurity. I don't pretend like I'm loving being in high heels and uncomfortable all evening like other women want to pretend, right? So I'm in touch with my insecurity, and then I have compassion for myself. Oh, you poor little girl. You're so insecure that you need to wear, these stilettos and be uncomfortable and break your ankle and misalign your spine. You're really, really you poor thing. And then I love myself through it, Or if I'm really hungry for attention and I go get a fabulous outfit, I'm in touch with that insecurity is driving that, not love for myself. See, we women lie to ourselves. We're like, no, I really love myself, so I need to adorn myself and, drip in diamonds. No, it's because you actually loathe yourself that you need to be in diamonds. You understand? And we're not in touch with that deep inner insecurity. It's okay to be insecure. Own it. Don't pretend you're loving yourself by buying a $50,000 diamond. No, it's actually you're so insecure that you need to wear a $50,000 diamond. That's not love.
I wish I could go and get a $50,000 diamond, but I can't. But I totally
No, you
get
don't
what you
need
mean.
it. You don't need a $50,000 diamond.
Yeah.
When you're truly in love with yourself and you're complete and whole, you will buy a $5 ring at best, or a $20 ring. You know what I'm trying to say. You will not need that. That outer need for validation comes from inner impoverishment.
I get what you mean.
And I'm not against you buying the damn diamond. Just don't pretend you're doing it out of self-love. You are most likely doing it out of a deep need for external praise and validation. And why do we need external praise and validation? Because we're not whole and complete within ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm. What do you ask yourselves in those times, though? Obviously now you've got to the point where you can see it very clearly, but for people that can't, do you have any helpful check-ins that people can do?
Well, it's about being honest, right? Why am I buying this? Why am I eating this? Why am I drinking my 7th glass of wine? Why am I going overboard to be loving to this person who's not being attentive to me? You have to really look at...
That's the harder one. That's the harder one, the external validation of someone else.
Yeah, you have to really be honest with yourself and not fake disguise it as love. You have to go, is this really love? Do I really love this person, or do I really like them loving me? And most of us, if we're very honest, we'd be like, I really like the attention I get. I really like that he's my partner or she's my partner. This is a little bit of a trophy here. I want the attention. And we women especially are confused about our real motivations, and I may be stereotypical here, but males, if they're honest, and they are more honest, I think, they'll say, I just wanted to go to bed with her, I just wanted to sleep with her. And then we're so appalled at their brutal honesty. Oh, you used me. But were we really checking in with ourselves? Were we really sure of ourselves, or were we trying to get them to love us, to like us more? So we had an agenda too. Our agenda just seems more noble, but it's an agenda, and an agenda is an agenda, period.
I do think it's harder for women in that landscape, though, because there's so much more societal pressure on a woman than there is on a man. And it really, really gets to me.
But here's the thing, my love. How are we co-creating our own self-pressure, right? At the end of the day, who is forcing me to sleep with someone? Who is forcing me to...
Not that bit. The bigger picture.
Yeah, but we have to, if we want individual liberation, we have to do it for ourselves and then fight the bigger fight out there. But before we fight a bigger fight out there, we must resolve the fight within ourselves. So at the end of the day, it's me in the mirror, me in the bed alone. How am I with myself? Nobody's forcing me to buy the diamond. Nobody's forcing me to get bigger boobs. Nobody's forcing me to wear the stilettos. Nobody's forcing me to get married or have children. I am also a co-subscriber of society's subscriptions. I'm also buying into the prescription. And if I don't own that part in me, right, I'm asking each one of us to own that part that buys into the bullshit. You can't blame the bullshit. You have to own your part, however small. Listen, the oppressor will never release the oppressed because the oppressor is winning. It is the task and the mandate of the oppressed to fight for each other, to rise in solidarity, to be in sisterhood, not competition like we women are, and to rise up, and to rise up. But we have to first be in sisterhood with ourselves. We have to be our greatest self-advocates. Don't expect the oppressors to come rescuing us. They're not going to do it. And it's not their job. No. So it's our self-empowerment that is the first place we begin. And self-empowerment can only begin with brutal self-accountability and owning the co-creation. And sure, we women have a lot to complain about. But hey, I can tell you 10,000 ways that we've co-created this reality as well.
Can I ask now for you, for yourself, for everything you've gone through? I know that you wrote the book Radical Awakening through a divorce. And I know you've been through a lot of your own kind of check-in, self-awareness, conscious living. Can I ask now what you feel is right for you through all the work that you've done and everything that you've personally learned in your journey? So take out all the society and what you thought you had to do. What do you now feel is right for you and how you should be living?
I think it's about me, moment by moment, striving for more inner alignment. So I call myself more and more on my bullshit and have compassion for it. And then I try to steer myself away from the falsity and try to just live within the circle of truth more and more. and I'm not yet in this pure place by any means, but I know where I'm in the bullshit place. I know it. I can see it. And I allow myself, I may say to myself, okay, you suppose I'm like going to meet, say, Oprah, okay, somebody who I adore. And I watch myself trying to get a cute outfit or the best earrings. And I'm giving a simple example because it's in the simple that the profound is discovered, right? I'll catch myself, like, look at you. You want to look cute. You want to look, and then I'll have compassion for it. And then I'll steady myself in the balance and not just lose myself in the orbit of external validation. So I do that in all my relationships and try to enter my heart more and more and move away from people, places, and things that make me guarded from my heart, right? I want to be in my heart, but that means I have to be in my mind to protect my heart. So first I have to use discernment and my mind and use my defenses of protection and boundaries to create a safe haven for my heart. Before, I used to just be in my heart and I never activated discernment and wisdom. Other people have to do it the opposite way. They're in their mind too much. They have to be in their heart more. So for heart-driven people, they have to activate the mind more and use discernment and boundaries. So I'm learning the balance of that. But now I'm becoming better at activating my heart, but in the safe containment of a very discerning, wise mind. So this is a lot of inner work and self-activation. And that's my path. So as long as I do it every day, I'm not going to abandon myself too much. I will a little bit, but not, I'll catch myself way faster. And the next thing I do for myself is really play with life. Like I'm here to love you and to discover this moment and to enjoy this moment. And then to have compassion, no judgment. And I'll move on from here and I'll try to not have judgment about it. So when I live like that, I live, in a delicious connection with life. I find life delectable, pleasurable, fun, joyful, abundant, because I'm here to play with it. I'm not here to get something from it, you see? I'm not here to capitalize, to win, to dominate. I'm just here to play with it, to discover who I am, to discover who you are, to have a connection, heart-based connection, and then to move the F on, right? So that allows me to be free and to evolve constantly.
Mm-hmm. I resonate with that so much because a friend sent me a video yesterday from Joe Dispenza, and it was about focusing on not the negative stories within your life, which so many of us can do, and I have definitely done recently more than ever before. But actually in the last few weeks, I've taken a huge turn in that and actually started focusing my energy on the abundance and the gratitude, which can be really difficult. But actually when we do that, we attract more of that in our lives. And there's so much to be said about not focusing on the negative things, which I think our mind can naturally go to. So I don't want anyone to think, that they're broken in that sense, because we're kind of neurowired to try and protect ourselves. But actually, as you said, when we can catch ourselves and bring ourselves back to like what's happening, what's the future, what have we got in our life, and where can we have compassion, we actually create so much more abundance, I think, in our lives and possibilities.
Absolutely. And it's not about bypassing the pain of being a human, but understanding in that pain, when you sit with it, that a lot of that pain is coming from our false ideas of what should be. And grieving the loss of the what should have been is a human experience. It's okay to cry when a love dies or a relationship ends or a person physically dies. That's a human experience. But in that, to just drip in the wisdom that all of life is impermanent. So part of grieving that is to be in resistance to the wisdom that this is inevitable. All relationships will end in the physical or in the metaphysical. So grieving that is human and we should not bypass that. But thinking it's negative is a story. It's not positive either. It just is. It just is the human experience. It's messy as F. And if you can just embrace the messiness and let go the need for it to be perfect, you'll actually live the most abundant, expansive life.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things. It's the fluidity, isn't it? And you kind of embrace all of it. So it brings me to my last question, which I'm very excited to ask you, which is, Dr. Shefali, what does live well, be well mean to you?
It means to allow life to live you and allow yourself to be lived by life, right? So allowing and surrendering to the play of life and to evolve with it. You and life are co-creating your present reality. So there is no separation. There is no evil other. It's all here for you to have an experience of being more human. And if you can embrace that, then quote unquote, the good, the bad, the ugly, all becomes data and information and gifts, if you allow it, to alchemize you to your next iteration.
The tapestry of life.
Yes.
Beautiful. Dr. Shefali, thank you so much for all your knowledge and your wisdom.
Thank you.
In today's show, I know so many people are going to want to go and follow you, listen to a new podcast. Can you please tell everybody where they can, well, obviously Radical Awakening, you're now a bestseller of 7 books. I thought it was 5. I was very corrected by you earlier that it was 7, which is just incredible. People want to go now and hear more about you. Where can they head to?
Yes, so they can find me on Instagram at Dr. Shefali. And then I have a new podcast. It's 6 weeks old. I'm so excited by it. It's called Parenting and You. So it sounds like it's a parenting podcast, but it's not. It's really about how you've been parented and how you need to parent yourself. And it's all live coaching. So I have parents and non-parents in real time where I'm doing the actual work. So you get to see me like a fly on the wall. And I have a website, I have courses, I have an institute. So I teach people to coach themselves and others. It's a coaching institute where I teach them my techniques. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really hope this is not the last time that we see one another. And I hope we can do this again.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.